handsome nosy neighbor, always in my business.
Oi! Missus! There's clothes all over my garden again!
Go away, Mr Hawkins, I'm busy.
Busy? Busy doing what? Busy doing nothing but throwing clothes out your window, that's what?
Oh, so that's where they went. Oh, just throw them back over the edge, Mr Hawkins. I've been having nightmares, that's all. But just go away and leave me alone.
What do you mean nightmares? It's me that's having a nightmare. No, I don't want to see your unspeakables all over my lawn.
I think you'll find you mean unmentionables, Mr Hawkins.
I know what I mean. I object to having your night garments all over my garden, and your underwear, and God knows what else. People will start to talk.
Oh, go away before I call the police on you.
Ah, you never stop calling the bloody police, you crazy old woman. You need locking up.
Oh, get off my doorstep and give me my clothes back or I'll have you arrested for theft and all.
Mad, that's what you are. Crazy, mad, unhinged. You need pointing home or something. Nothing but trouble, that Mrs. Harris. And one of us needs to do something about her. Police cars parked outside the house every 5 minutes, knocking on our doors. Have we seen this? Have we heard that? Are we afraid to leave our homes? Nonsense. All nonsense. Complaints about noise and antisocial behaviour. Have we seen anything? I don't know about you, but it's driving my wife up the wall. Of course we haven't seen anything, because there ain't nothing to see. My own grandson's one of the kids she's complaining about. Standing outside my house of an evening chatting with his friends. Oh, and especially now it's getting lighter. I mean, that's what kids do now, isn't it? Sometimes they come in and say hello to their gran and me, have a can of Coke. Oh, we always keep some in for the grandkids and their friends. And sometimes they go over to one of their other friends' houses. And that's social behaviour, if you ask me, not antisocial. It's she's deranged. And them clothes, how mad is that? I mean, I've told the police she's losing it and she needs to be put home or something, but who listens, eh? No one. That's who.